part of the third equation and get more simply that disposable income is income minus net taxes. All right, clicker question. Suppose that income is 10,000, taxes are 4,000, and transfers are 3,000. To make this realistic for the United States, I need to say $10,000 billion per year, $4,000 billion per year, $3,000 billion per year. In that case, what's the value of net taxes and what's the value of disposable income? You should be able to do this without a calculator. Take your shoes off, and then you got enough digits to do it without a calculator. Oh, 7 seconds. How's that? 1, 2. It's a random prime number. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stop. All right. So you can do it one of two ways. You can say taxes is taxes minus transfers, so that's 4,000 minus 3,000, which is 1,000. So now we've eliminated A, B, and C as possible answers. And then disposable income is income minus those net taxes, so 10,000 minus 1,000, which gets us to option E. Another way to do it is just remember income plus transfers minus taxes. That's how I like to do it. Income plus transfers was 10 plus 3 is 13, minus the taxes is 4, also gave me 9,000, which got me to E. All right, you know how to do those things. They're pretty straightforward. Fingers and toes, count your nose, it'll never be more than 21. All right, here we go. Next, unemployment and the production possibilities frontier. I mentioned this earlier. I just want to reiterate it because I saw some questions on Piazza related to this. Being on the production possibilities frontier is equivalent to full employment. So when we talk about an economy, let's say the economy is producing goods and services. So we take the total GDP in the economy and divide it into two groups. We'll call them goods and services. And here's some production possibilities frontier that captures the total amount of goods and services, the various combinations of goods and services that could be produced with the available resources, land, labor, and capital, and the available knowledge given the productivity of those resources gives us a PPF. If the economy is producing some combination like A, so just choose any point that's on your production possibilities frontier, that combination A, that's equivalent to saying the economy is at full employment. Equivalent to saying we're utilizing all of our available resources. When we say there's some unemployment problem, that's equivalent to being someplace inside of the PPF. So choose any point B that's inside of your PPF, or choose any point inside your PPF and label it B, same difference. That is an economy that has an unemployment problem because it's not producing the amount of goods and services it could produce if it was fully utilizing all of its available resources. The issue during a recession is how do we get back to the production possibilities frontier? What do? How do we increase aggregate demand so that the economy can get back to the production possibilities frontier? You can think roughly, there's not a strict math correspondence, but you can think roughly about how far inside the PPF we are as being a measure of how far we are from full employment. So the worse the unemployment problem, the further inside the production possibilities frontier that we are. Not all, we're going to go through this in just a second, not all aspects of that unemployment problem, not every reason that we're not on the PPF is caught in that official unemployment rate figure. I had a question over here, just flew by. Yeah. If the unemployment rate was actually zero, well, can I answer a different question? What is it, when we're at full employment, does that mean we have a 0% unemployment rate? No. So when we're at full employment means we're going to have some definitions in a few minutes. Full employment is going to mean we have frictional unemployment is the type of unemployment we have, which means unemployment is voluntary. It's people who have just entered the labor force and are looking for a job, or people who've quit a job but are looking for another job. So people who are choosing to take a little bit of time to find a job. What's the typical level of full employment for the U.S.? It's somewhere between 4 and 5.5, probably close to 5 or 5.5. Some economies it could be a little bit lower, some a little bit higher. We wouldn't want to have 0% unemployment because 0% unemployment means that nobody ever spends more than one split second in that status of being unemployed, which means that you don't ever get to search for a job that fits the skills that you're acquiring here at the University of California, Berkeley. Because if everybody gets a job in one split second, nobody's searching and finding that match that says, I'm getting a bachelor's in electrical engineering, I'd like to get a job that uses that bachelor's in electrical engineering. 0% unemployment means you wake up, you open your eyes, and somebody hands you a hamburger flipper and tells you to go to work. You get the first job that's available as soon as you open your eyes. All right, some definitions. Unemployment. People who are unemployed. Unemployed people are people who have no job and have looked for work within the past 4 weeks. In order to be counted as unemployed, you have to fit that definition. You have to have no job, and you have to have done something to look for work within the past 4 weeks. On the other hand, people who are employed are people who have a job that pays wages. Volunteer work does not count as employment. So an unpaid internship is volunteer work. Unpaid internships are volunteer work. Those do not count as employment. To be employed, you have to have a job that pays wages. Unpaid internships are also a violation of labor law, but we'll go into that some other day. Employment, the one little caveat here is if you're working for your parents. So if your parents own a business and you're working in a family-run business, if you work 15 hours or more per week, whether your parents actually pay you or not, you're counted as employed. So employed is you receive a paycheck or you're working for the folks for more than 15 hours a week, 15 hours or more per week. The sum of those two things, employed plus unemployed, equals the labor force. So if you're unemployed, you're part of the labor force. If you're employed, you're part of the labor force. If you're neither unemployed nor employed, you're out of the labor force. People who are retired and are not working and not looking for work are out of the labor force. People who are retired from their main job but are working 10 hours a week, they're employed because they're getting a paycheck. So unemployed, don't have a job, looking for work, employed, have a paycheck, or 15 hours or more for the family. Labor force is sum of the two. Clicker question. Which group are you in? Are you employed, unemployed, out of the labor force, more than one of the above, or none of the above? A, B, C, D, or E? 3 seconds. It's a quick one. 1, 2, and 3. All right, what do we got? We've got 27% are employed. That means 27%, assuming we answered it correctly, it means 27% of you have a job that pays wages or work for the family 15 hours or more per week. 11% are unemployed. It means you're currently looking for a job and you don't have a job. So you've done something in the last 4 weeks to look for work. You went down to the career center, you checked Craigslist, you put in an application someplace, it doesn't really matter. You did one of those things and you're not currently employed. 59% of you are out of the labor force. You're neither employed nor unemployed. You're a full-time student who's not looking for a job and is not currently employed. And then we've got 2% and 1%, and those people get the unhappy face because you cannot be more than one of the above. They're 3 mutually exclusive categories. You can't be in more than one category, but you have to be in one of the 3. So those 3 categories are exhaustive and mutually exclusive. Okay? All right. So what about for the country as a whole? For the country as a whole, as of last month, we had 248.4 million people ages 16 and over in the population. Of those 248.4 million, 146.6 million were employed, 9.3 million were unemployed, and 92.6 million were not in the labor force. The sum of these first 2 numbers, employed plus unemployed, which is 155.9 million, that's the size of the labor force in the United States economy as of September 2014. The unemployment rate is the number of people unemployed divided by the number of people unemployed plus the number of people employed, which is the same thing as saying the number of people unemployed divided by the number of people in the labor force. For the United States as a whole, it's going to be the 9.3 million divided by the 155.9 million, and as you saw in the exercise you did in section, that gave us an unemployment rate in September of 5.9%. The labor force participation rate, LFPR, the labor force participation rate looks at the number of people in the labor force divided by the number of people in the population, ages 16 and over. So anybody who hasn't yet hit their 16th birthday is not considered in all of this stuff. So labor force participation rate, what percentage of the population 16 and over is in the labor force, whether they're employed or unemployed. For the United States, that's 155.9 million divided by 248.4 million for a labor force participation rate of 62.7%. So about two-thirds, a little less than two-thirds of the U.S. Population 16 and over is in the labor force. Now we've got that overall unemployment rate for the economy of 5.9%. We've seen some graphs. You worked with some tables for that. It's important to know that unemployment is not evenly distributed according to demographic categories. So if we look at the unemployment rate in September 2014 by racial category, we get a very different experience depending upon what group we're looking at. For the white population in the labor force, so this is divided by the labor force. For the white population, it's a 5.1%, African American 11%, Hispanic 6.9%, and Asian 4.3%. One of the things that do we see it in this semester? I don't remember if I have time. Certainly you see it if you take 113 from me next semester or other classes that we teach. There's a very strong correlation between educational attainment and the likelihood of being unemployed. It also differs by age. So 16 to 19-year-olds have an unemployment rate of 20.0%. 20-year-olds plus, so people 20 and over, had an unemployment rate in September of 5.4%. Also differs, as I just alluded to, by educational attainment. High school grads had an unemployment rate of 5.3%. People with at least a bachelor's degree had an unemployment rate of 2.9%. It's the people who are high school dropouts who have the particularly high unemployment rate that brings the overall average up to 5.9%. It poses an interesting question. Suppose that, I'm not saying we are, but suppose that we as a country were happy with a 5.9% unemployment rate. Suppose we said, that's our goal. Woo-hoo! We want a 5.9% unemployment rate, and we've achieved that goal. If we say that we as a nation want a 5.9% unemployment rate, but that unemployment is distributed very unevenly throughout our population, what does it really mean to have a goal of having a particular unemployment rate for the economy as a whole? So 5.9% is not the number that we're happy with. We're aiming for something more around the 5 to 5.3 sort of range is what we're trying to get back to. But the same question will arise when we get to a 5 to 5.3% unemployment rate. What does it mean to be happy with achieving that national unemployment rate when that national unemployment rate reflects such enormous differences based on race, based on gender, based on marital status, based on educational attainment, and so on? I just leave that there for you to ponder. It's one of those 2 a.m. questions with your roommates. Or 1 a.m. All right, types of unemployment. We can look at folks who are unemployed, this relates to the Krugman article, and think about what type of unemployment they are experiencing. There are 5 different types of unemployment. Frictional unemployment, those are people who are voluntarily in between jobs. So people who have just entered the labor force and are still looking for work, people who have re-entered the labor force, so you had a job before college, but now you're a full-time student, but you're going to go back into the labor force when you finish, or you were in the labor force, you dropped out of the labor force to have kids, you're going back into the labor force. So people who are voluntarily in between jobs because they've just entered or re-entered the labor force, or because they quit the job they had in order to look full-time for new work. So somebody who chose to quit their job is counted as being frictionally unemployed. A lot of times students worry about what about the people who got fired for cause? The number of people in the country who get fired for cause, so the people who are drunk on the job or otherwise not doing the job, is small enough. When we look at 248 million people, that's a small enough number that it doesn't have its own category. We don't worry about it because it's way out in the rounding error of all these numbers that we're looking at. All right, frictional. Seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment is people who have a job that's tied to the seasons, and they're looking for work in the off-season. So the ski lift operator, whose regular job is running a ski lift, who is looking for work in July, because there's no snow in July, at least here. Santa Claus has a regular job in December, looking for work in January. So somebody whose regular job is seasonal, and they're looking for work in the off-season. Structural. Structural unemployment, people whose unemployment is due to changes in the structure of the economy, that's the name. People whose unemployment is due to changes in the structure of the economy. That can be for 2 reasons. One is the skills the individual has have become obsolete. Somebody who was skilled as a typewriter repair person who didn't know how to do anything else, those became obsolete skills once everybody got word processors. Somebody who knew how to fix horse buggies back in 1916, that became an obsolete skill once everybody switched over to automobiles. So someone whose skills have become obsolete, they're counted as being structurally unemployed. More generally, think about if there's a substitution of capital for labor in some firm, that's going to generate structural unemployment. And the other form of structural employment is people whose job has left them geographically. So a key example for this area, Bank of America used to be headquartered in San Francisco. Bank of America is now headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. When they moved from San Francisco to Charlotte, North Carolina, the employees of Bank of America who chose not to move to North Carolina, their job left them. The employer left them, they were counted as structurally unemployed. Those jobs still existed, they were just down in North Carolina. Cyclical unemployment is the type of unemployment we're particularly concerned with in macroeconomics. That's unemployment due to the fluctuations of the business cycle. So the fact that when we're in recession, unemployment goes up, that's cyclical unemployment because of the business cycle, because there's currently insufficient aggregate demand. We call that cyclical unemployment. And then finally, hidden unemployment. Hidden unemployment, which is also associated with what are called discouraged workers. Hidden unemployment are people who want work, who don't have work, but who have not looked for work in the last 4 weeks. So they're hidden because they're not counted as part of the reported unemployment rate. They're called discouraged workers. They're people who want jobs but have spent a long time looking for a job and just need to take a mental health break. One of my older brothers was laid off as part of the financial restructuring in the early 1990s, spent 2 years looking for a new job as an accountant, couldn't find work, and finally got to a point where it's like his mental health was suffering from actually when he died, had 2 drawers full of job applications that had all come back with rejection letters. That's a lot of rejection for one individual to take. He took a mental health break, took a couple of months off from the process of looking for work. At that point, he was hidden unemployment or a discouraged worker. Okay, when we talk about the unemployment problem includes not only the official unemployment rate, it includes those discouraged workers. 260,000 people in September 2014 had been unemployed for such a long time that they were taking a mental health break from the process of looking for work. Unemployment problem also includes what are called underemployed workers. People are underemployed either because they have not enough hours, so somebody who wants to work 40 hours a week but can only find a 20-hour-a-week job. There were about 7 million of those people last month, so people who wanted a full-time job but could only find part-time work was about 7 million people. Another aspect of underemployment is a mismatch of skills. So the electrical engineer who's flipping burgers at McDonald's is a mismatch of skills. Both of those things contribute to what we call underemployment. These are things that bring us inside the production possibilities frontier but are not caught in that headline number of 5.9%. The government does try to estimate how big this problem is using the U6 unemployment rate that you looked at in section. That U6 unemployment rate in September 2014 was 11.8%. So if we looked at what's the extent of the problem that pulls us inside of the production possibilities frontier, it includes the hidden unemployment, discouraged workers, and the underemployment problem. And for the U.S. right now, about doubles the existing unemployment rate. Okay. All right, skip that one. Measuring prices. I had a typo, sorry about that typo on what I handed out, so I scratched it out here. I'll scratch it out more like this. Oops. When we talk about measuring prices and measuring the inflation rate, we're going to look at the relative, come up with one number, which is the relative mix, the relative price of some mix of goods and services produced. Put this up here so you see. So for instance, let me write it down. So the price in 2014, we're going to take the price of apples times the quantity of apples, plus the price of books times the quantity of books, plus ... plus the price of zebra-skinned handbags times the quantity of zebra-skinned handbags, and all of those prices will be the 2014 prices. And then we're going to compare that or divide it by the same thing, but using prices from the base year. So PA times QA plus PB times QB plus ... plus PZ times QZ, using in the denominator the prices from some base year. And then because people have math anxiety and they don't like decimals, we multiply it by 100 because people are more comfortable with numbers like 96 than they are with numbers like 0.96. So the multiplying by 100 is just because too many people in the US have math anxiety. This thing winds up, this uppercase P, which I mentioned the other day is our measure of prices, winds up being just a number. It has no units. So it's not dollars, it's not quantities, it's just a number. It's a naked number with no units attached to it. The consumer price index, which is the number that we'll look at most often, the consumer price index, when they're calculating this number, the quantities that they're using are the typical urban market basket. Typical urban market basket. So it's the quantity of apples typically purchased by an urban family of 4 over a month. The quantity of books typically purchased by an urban family of 4 over a month. The quantity of zebra-skinned handbags typically purchased by an urban family of 4 over a month. And they're going to use those same quantities in both the numerator and the denominator. There's another price index. It's called the GDP price index. It exists. I don't care if you know about it, so I'm not going to take any time on it because I'm worried about the time. When we calculate the inflation rate takes those numbers and takes the newer number minus the old number divided by the old number. So using the actual values of the CPI from the last year, we have 238.0 minus 234.1. So today's value minus last year's value divided by last year's value, 234.1. What do we get? That gives me 3.9 divided by 234.1, which is an inflation rate of 1.7%. So when they say the inflation rate in the United States today is 1.7%, that's how they got it. They had a number for September 2014. They had another number for 2013. They took the percentage change between the two. You got us multiple rooms on Wednesday. We'll see half of you here and half of you scattered around campus. Y'all have a good day.